Haunted Hills. In a quiet part of the North Hills, where the moon struggled to shine through the thick trees, David and his dad, John, embarked on a journey that would fill their nights with fear. The air was heavy with an odd quietness as they went deeper into the mysterious woods. John, an experienced explorer with a face marked by years of travel, had heard stories about the spooky North Hills. Tales of lost spirits and strange happenings clung to the area, but curiosity led them into the dark. The path was narrow, almost invisible under the shadows of the ancient trees. Branches twisted like spooky fingers, making a creepy sound as the wind moved through the leaves. With every step, the air got colder, and David couldn't shake the feeling that unseen eyes were watching them. As they walked on, the forest seemed to close in, its old trees tangling together like a living wall. Undeterred by the creepy atmosphere, John lit a lantern to push back the encroaching darkness. The flickering light made dancing shadows on the gnarled tree trunks, making the spooky feeling even stronger. David felt more uneasy when they stumbled upon an empty space with old gravestones. The moonlight showed worn-out engravings and mossy names, each marking a forgotten soul. John dismissed the discomfort, thinking it was just David's imagination. Deeper in, a distant sound echoed through the trees, a sad cry that sent shivers down David's spine. His father stopped listening. The eerie cry grew louder and more desperate. John's face tightened. Legend says the spirits of those lost in these woods still wander. We must be careful. But before they could turn back, a ghostly figure appeared. It floated above the ground, glowing eyes fixed on them. David gasped, and his father, staying calm, whispered words meant to calm restless spirits. Yet, the ghost stayed, and more joined in. The forest seemed alive with ghosts, transparent forms moving through the trees. Panic took hold of David as the ghostly group closed in, their moans filling the air. John grabbed David's hand, leading him in a sprint through the haunted woods. The ghostly procession followed shadows at the edge of their vision. The air became thick with an evil feeling, making it hard for them to run. As they reached the edge of the spooky forest, John chanted louder, saying ancient prayers for protection. The ghosts, realizing they were about to escape, chased them even harder, their sad sounds echoing in the night. Finally, out of the scary woods, father and son stumbled into a moonlit clearing. The ghostly cries faded, and the North Hills took back their silent calm. Gasping for breath, John and David shared a look, the unspeakable fear in their eyes. After that night, neither father nor son talked about the spooky encounter in the North Hills. The memories haunted them, leaving a shadow over their lives. John, once a fearless explorer, now respected the supernatural forces in the ancient woods. And David, changed by the ghostly experience, couldn't shake the feeling that the lost soul's eyes still followed him, even in the daylight. The North Hills had taken something from their souls, leaving a lasting mark on their spirits. The vampires. Once, in North London between mist-covered mountains, there were new neighbors who arrived mysteriously in the dead of night. Whispers spread like shadows through the streets, claiming that these newcomers were not ordinary folks, but creatures of the night vampires. The townsfolk exchanged hushed conversations behind closed doors, fear dancing in their eyes. One gloomy evening, a group of fearless kids decided to unravel the truth. They gathered in the dimly lit room of Jacob, the bravest of them all, and planned a sleepover at the mysterious house next door. The air was thick with anticipation as they clutched flashlights and giggled nervously. The moon hung low in the cloudy sky as the children approached the weird mansion. The creaking gate echoed through the stillness, sending shivers down their spines. They tiptoed towards the door, each step heavier than the last. With a hesitant knock, the door swung open, revealing a tall, pale figure with piercing eyes, Mrs. Blackwood. "Children, what a delightful surprise. Come in," she invited with a warm smile that seemed to hide secrets in its curves. The kids exchanged uneasy glances, but stepped inside. Apparently, they were looking normal, but there was something wrong in their evil smile. The interior was adorned with antique furniture and dimly lit candles, casting long shadows on the walls. Mrs. Blackwood led them to a spacious room with ornate beds draped in rich velvet. The children hesitated, but succumbed to the allure of curiosity, settling in for the night. As the clock struck midnight, strange noises echoed through the hall's, whispers, footsteps, and the occasional distant howl. Fear wrapped its icy fingers around the children, tightening with each passing second. Yet they dared not disturb their hosts, unsure of the consequences that might follow. The room grew colder, and the air became dense with otherworldly energy. Shadows danced on the walls, taking sinister shapes that flickered in the candlelight. A soft, haunting melody played from nowhere, sending a chill down their spines. Just as the fear reached its peak, Mrs. Blackwood entered the room, her eyes gleaming in the darkness. "I hope you're enjoying your stay, my dear children," she whispered, her voice sending shivers down their spines. Suddenly, the room plunged into darkness, the candles extinguished by an unseen force. Panic seized the children as they fumbled for their flashlights, their beams revealing a sight that froze their young hearts. Mrs. Blackwood and her family stood before them, with sinister smiles. The truth was unveiled, the whispers were right. The children, paralyzed by fear, could only watch as the vampires circled them with predatory grace. But just as the tension reached its peak, Mrs. Blackwood chuckled softly. "Fear not, little ones. We meant no harm. We simply wanted some company." With a wave of her hand, the candles reignited, revealing a warm and inviting room once more. The vampires, instead of ominous creatures, appeared as ordinary hosts with a peculiar taste for the macabre. Relieved yet puzzled, the children spent the rest of the night sharing tales with their supernatural hosts, the once frightening atmosphere transforming into a peculiar harmony of darkness and friendship. As the first light of dawn crept through the curtains, the kids left the mysterious mansion, with a story to tell, one that blurred the lines between fear and the unexpected bonds that can form in the strangest of places. Mac's haunting return. In the town of Ravenswood, the Johnson family lived in an old house. They had a dog named Max, who was like a family member. One stormy night, Max disappeared, and after a long search, the family sadly thought they had lost him forever. 5 years later, on a dark night, there was a soft scratching at their door. When the Johnsons opened it, there was Max, wet and messy. The family was surprised and happy to see him again. But things got strange. Max didn't act like before. His eyes, which used to be warm, now glowed with a creepy red light. Weird things started happening in the house, things moving on their own, and strange whispers in the air. The family felt uneasy as they noticed Max doing odd things. One night, Mr. Johnson heard voices in the hallway. When he went to check, he saw Max standing on his hind legs, whispering something weird. Mr. Johnson was scared and asked Max what was going on, but Max just stared back with those creepy red eyes. As time went on, the Johnsons realized that Max wasn't their beloved pet anymore. They asked for help from people who knew about ghosts, and they learned a shocking truth: Max had gone to the other side after he disappeared. But something dark had changed him. Desperate to help Max, the family worked with a person who could talk to spirits. They tried to communicate with Max's soul. In a room with dim lights and candles, they chanted special words, asking the otherworldly powers to let Max go. During the ceremony, Max shook and made a painful sound. Shadows moved around him, and the room got really cold. The family felt scared, but kept going. Suddenly, Max's shape changed, and they saw a ghostly figure. The person helping them said they needed to act quickly. With sadness in their hearts, the Johnsons, holding blessed things, touched Max's ghostly form. A bright light filled the room and a scary sound echoed. When the light disappeared, Mac's ghost was gone. The Johnsons stood quietly, feeling relief that the scary force was gone. But they also felt a deep sadness. They had lost Max, twice, first when he disappeared, and now when they had to let go of his ghost. Even though they were sad, the family remembered the good times with Max, their loyal dog,